A Democratic representative from Rhode Island floats a conspiracy theory that President Trump would risk a nuclear war with North Korea over approval ratings.
I think what we have to be sure is that the president understands the implications of this kind of military action. What I fear is you sort of got a political bump from the Syrian strike, and we don't want the president to be making decisions where he just sort of thinks more bombs are the way to build up his popularity, but rather they're making decisions based on the national security interests of the United States.
Bombs equal bumps. Well, here to react to the Woodhouse brothers, former DNC communications director Brad Woodhouse, screen left, and the executive director of the North Carolina Republican Party, Dallas Woodhouse. Guys, good morning to both of you.
Hey, good morning.
Well, Dallas, now we know that the reason Donald Trump is going after North Korea is just to bump up his approval ratings, according to the Democrat from Rhode Island.
Well, I'm glad that that Democrat from Rhode Island is in Rhode Island and not in a position to have a great deal of influence here. I mean, this is ridiculous, even for ridiculous liberals. You know, failed military operations have a lot more potential to hurt you than good ones can help you. I have full confidence that Mr. Trump and his team will look at these things carefully and soberly and do the right thing. Ultimately, good policy makes good politics, and I feel confident that if and when we have to do something, it will be for the right reasons.
All right, Brother Brad, let's talk about the bump and the bombs.
Well, look, I've lived long enough to remember when people accused Bill Clinton of looking after his approval ratings when he dropped bombs in Afghanistan to go after Osama bin Laden. So this is
the wag the dog theory.
So this is not. This is not new. This is not new at all. But my concern is not whether or not Donald Trump is looking at his approval ratings.
Sure.
It's whether he has a coherent and principled foreign policy. He said we wouldn't intervene in Syria. We intervened in Syria. He said he would call China a currency manipulator. Now he won't call China a currency manipulator. He said that he was going to hold NATO to account. Now he's supporting NATO.
Okay.
He said Mexico was going to pay for a wall. Now we're paying for the wall. So my concern is he does not have a principled or coherent approach to foreign policy.
All right.
Not that he's watching his poll numbers.
You are not the first Democrat who I've heard say that. Now let's talk a little bit about a Democrat by the name of Jon Ossoff. He's running for the 6th Congressional District down in the great state of Georgia. Brad, your party is saying that if this guy wins, the Democrat wins, that's going to be really big for the Democrat Party. Donald Trump has tweeted out in the last hour, Democrat Jon Ossoff would be a disaster in Congress, very weak on crime and illegal immigration, bad for jobs, and wants higher taxes. Say no. And then he also tweeted out, Republicans must get out today and vote in Georgia 6, force runoff and easy win. Dem Ossoff will raise your taxes, very bad on crime and the Second Amendment. Brother Brad.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you have the President of the United States tweeting desperately, telling people to go out to the polls in a primary election. Remember, Steve, this is the primary.
He did it last week in Kansas.
Well, the reason he's doing
it is
it's
not a normal primary, Brad. It's a jumbo primary.
Dallas, the question is to me, the reason he's desperately putting these tweets out is he knows that this is a referendum on him. I mean, this is a Republican seat. It was won by the previous incumbent, Tom Price, by over 20 points. The fact that we're even talking about this seat is already a victory for the Democrats. Whether or not Ossoff eventually gets in the House or not, the fact Republicans had to pour money into this, and that the president is so frightened he has to tweet on the day of the election, that Democrats have already won in Georgia.
Dallas, this guy would have to get 50% to avoid the... If he gets more than 50%, then that would be great for him. But because there are 18 people running, if the Democrat were to win and the Republicans lost, wouldn't that really be more about the fact that the Republicans had 11 candidates for this one job?
Yeah, I mean, there are a ton of candidates down there, but
there are multiple candidates on the Democratic side, too.
Well, but the Democrats have basically got one candidate, and he's raised a lot of money. You have to give him credit for that.
$8 million bucks.
I've talked to my contact at the Republican National Committee this morning. They feel good, but they do have a message that Republicans need to come out, vote for the Republican of their choice, and they feel like they're doing a good job pushing back against the Nancy Pelosi millions of dollars. We have a strong regional political director down there, Russell Peck, who I know is helping get out the vote, and I feel pretty good about it. But, you know, Republicans need to come out today, and I believe they will.
It's interesting because the national media has, at least one publication, Brad, has referred to this man as the Trump Slayer, that he's the one who could take down the president, essentially, you know, in a spiritual way, if he were to go ahead and win this special election down in Georgia.
Well, look, I think that that's overstating. This is one congressional seat. I do think that it does serve as a warning shot to Donald Trump. If you have a seat that is 20 points plus Republican and you're fighting this hard to win it, there is something going on with your base and with Republicans. They're not enthusiastic about his presidency.
Well, let's see what's going to
I
happen
hope all
tomorrow
of
at this
our
time. We'll know.
Republicans use this as an opportunity to show they can deliver in Congress.
All right. Brothers, thank you very much for joining us live today.
Great. Thank you.
All right. What do you think about that? Email us, friends@foxnews.com.